Hello, welcome to another new video. Before starting, I invite you to subscribe and give the video a good like so you don't miss any more content. And without anything else to say, God bless you and let's get started. The story begins in Sodom. It is in that place where Lot lived with his family, which consisted of his wife and his 2 daughters. In Genesis chapter 19 we see that 2 angels came to Sodom with the intention of warning Lot about the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah. The biblical story narrates that Lot was sitting at the gate of the city of Sodom, and when he saw the angels he got up to receive them and took them to his house. When the inhabitants of Sodom found out that Lot had received a visit from 2 men, they went to Lot's house and asked him to bring them out to the angels so that they could meet them. However, Lot, knowing the perverse heart of the inhabitants of Sodom, told them. He said, "Behold, now I have 2 daughters, who have never known a man. I will bring them outside to you, and do with them as you see fit, only do nothing to these men, since they came to the shadow of my roof." In this verse we see the appearance of the 2 daughters of Lot in the biblical scene. The biblical story narrates that they were virgin women who had not known a man. However, the 2 daughters of Lot were engaged, but in those times the tradition was that a man could not get to a woman until after they were married. Lot went out of the city with his family. But before he left the city, he had to warn his 2 sons-in-law to leave Sodom. In Genesis chapter 19 verse 14, then Lot went out and spoke to his sons-in-law, those who were to take his daughters, and said to them, "Get up, leave this place, because the Lord is going to destroy this city." But it seemed to his sons-in-law as if he were mocking. In this verse we see that Lot's sons-in-law did not obey his words, so they stayed in Sodom. The biblical story narrates that when Lot was outside the city with his 2 daughters and his wife, the angels told him, "Escape for your life and do not look back." And that is how Lot escaped with his family, while Sodom and Gomorrah were destroyed. However, while they were escaping, Lot's wife looked back and instantly turned into a pillar of salt. But despite all this, Lot and his 2 daughters continued on their way without looking back. The biblical text says that Lot and his 2 daughters arrived at a place called Zoar. However, after a time Lot left Zoar because he was afraid of the people there. For this reason Lot and his 2 daughters went up a mountain and lived in a cave. And while Lot's eldest daughter was in that place, she said to the younger, "Our father is old, and there is no man left in the land who will come to us according to the custom of all the land. Let us come and let our father drink wine, and let us sleep with him, and we will preserve offspring from our father." And that is how on that night they gave Lot to drink wine. Lot became drunk with the wine. The eldest daughter, taking advantage of this, went in and slept with Lot. However, Lot did not feel when he slept with his eldest daughter. The next day the eldest daughter said to the younger daughter, "Behold, I slept last night with my father. Let us give him wine to drink tonight also, and go in and sleep with him, so that we may preserve offspring from our father." And this is how the 2 daughters again gave her father Lot's wine to drink. And that night the youngest daughter slept with Lot. However, Lot did not feel again when she slept with her youngest daughter. The biblical story narrates that after this incestuous act the 2 daughters became pregnant by their father Lot. The eldest daughter had a son who called him Moab, who is the father of the Moabites. The youngest daughter also had a son by her father Lot, who named him Ben-Ami, became the father of the Ammonites. On the other hand, Lot involuntarily became the father of those two tribes that Jehovah excluded from the Jewish people. Let's read Deuteronomy chapter 23 verse 3. No Ammonite or Moabite shall enter into the congregation of Jehovah. Now, many of us wonder what induced Lot's daughters to eat that incestuous act. The answer from our point of view is very vague, but we have to be clear that Lot's two virgin daughters had lost everything. They had witnessed the annihilation of their culture in Sodom, the loss of their future husbands, the destruction of his family's wealth and power, and the death of his mother. They were convinced that no man would marry them and they would never have children, and their father's descendants would also be lost. Everything they had completely vanished. Now, they were living in the hills inside a cave without any hope. This desperation perhaps led them to sleep with their father. Lot should not have allowed himself to get drunk, but he should not be blamed for having sexual relations with his daughters. This story is particularly in the Bible, although at that time incest was not a sin. But the story of the daughters of Lot leaves us with many doubts as to whether or not it was a sin. Personally, I believe that it was wrong, and it was a sin because the way they acted and with whom they carried out their actions. It should be noted that incest was seen as a sin after the Mosaic Law was introduced. In the law that God gave to Moses, God outright prohibited any incestuous practice. Now the Ammonites and the Moabites were two neighboring peoples of Israel. The countries of Moab and Ammon were located on the eastern side of the Jordan, while Israel was on the western side. Ammon and Moab were two countries that had oppressed the Israelites when they tried to penetrate the Promised Land. The Israelites did not view these people favorably even though they were distant relatives, since Lot was Abraham's nephew. To express your rejection to them was to call them abominable, and they did it literally, affirming that its origin came from incest, but God is the one who knows the thoughts of men. No matter how abominable we see the acts of Lot's daughters, we have to be clear that for God there is no such thing as a person. Let's look at it. The story of Ruth the Moabite. She was a descendant of that incestuous act of Lot's daughters. However, by the grace of God, Ruth became part of the genealogy of Jesus Christ our Savior. God bless you, and see you in a future video.